The true cost of war isn't counted in lives or land, but in ledger entries and stock portfolios. While nations burn, a hidden economy of chaos is quietly cashing in. War is the ultimate failure of humanity. Symphony of destruction, where the movements are written in artillery fire and the finale is measured in graves. Yet, within this cataclysm, a perverse and predictable economic phenomenon unfolds. While nations shatter and populations bleed, a select few see their fortunes not just survive, but skyrocket. This is not an accident, nor is it a simple morality tale of mustache-twirling villains. It is the cold, systematic outcome of a global economic engine that is activated by conflict. To understand why wars make some people rich is to follow the money through the smoke, tracing the intricate pipelines of profit that flow directly from the epicenter of chaos. Before we begin this investigation, tell me, where are you watching from in the world right now, and what time is it there? Share your location and time in the comments below. If you're ready to follow the money trail through the ruins, hit like, share this to map the hidden economy of war, and subscribe. The story we're about to uncover is the dark side of global power, the most direct line from battlefield to bank account runs through the merchants of metal, the arms industry. For these corporations, the Lockheed Martins, Raytheons, Northrop Grummans, and BAE Systems of the World War is not a tragedy. It is a demand shock. Peacetime is a market of incremental upgrades and procurement budgets. War, especially a major or prolonged conflict, shatters those constraints. Governments transition from careful buyers to desperate clients, writing blank checks funded by emergency spending bills and debt. Stock prices for major defense contractors don't just rise during conflict. They often perform inversely to the broader market sphere. The invasion of Ukraine in 2022 delivered a textbook case as global markets plunged on the news. Shares in major defense firms began a steep, sustained climb that continues to this day. The calculus is simple. Every destroyed tank in Ukraine needs to be replaced, not just there, but across all of Europe, triggering a continent-wide rearmament. The shareholder, perhaps a pension fund in Ohio or a retiree in Florida, sees a robust dividend. They are often blissfully abstracted from the brutal end use of the product, seeing only a strong defense stock in their portfolio. The wealth generated here is clean, digital, and sanctioned, flowing from the halls of Congress to corporate headquarters to brokerage accounts, worldwide. But the harvest extends far beyond the official contracted weapons trade. Where the large defense firms stop, the gray marketeers and resource raiders begin. In the lawless zones created by war, a different kind of entrepreneur thrives. These are the traffickers who arm non-state militias, the warlords who seize control of mineral-rich territories, and the smuggling networks that turn embargoed oil into cash. Consider the conflict in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Fueled for decades by the illicit trade in conflict minerals like coltan, cassiterite, and gold. These minerals essential for our smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicles are extracted through slave labor and sold through opaque networks to refiners who blend them into the global supply chain. The profit margins are astronomical because the cost is borne by human suffering and funded by the very violence that trade perpetuates. Similarly, in the shadow of the Syrian war, oil fields controlled by ISIS became a primary funding source, with smuggled oil sold at discounted prices to willing buyers across borders. This wealth is not reported on stock exchanges. It is laundered through real estate in Dubai, luxury goods in Istanbul, and cryptocurrencies in offshore wallets. It is primitive accumulation through anarchic violence. Parallel to this, and often interlinked, is the vast, morbidly lucrative industry of reconstruction and security services. This is the second, more enduring wave of profit. The bombs stop falling and a new gold rush begins. This was laid bare in Iraq and Afghanistan. Companies like Halliburton, via its former subsidiary KBR, secured no bid, Cost-plus contracts worth tens of billions for everything from building bases to supplying troops with fuel and food. The plus in cost-plus was the guaranteed profit, a perverse incentive to inflate costs with little oversight. After the initial invasion, the reconstruction phase saw staggering sums vanish into a sinkhole of corruption, incomplete projects, and phantom infrastructure. Simultaneously, private military and security companies PMSs like the former Blackwater created a parallel. Highly paid army. Their contractors could earn over $1,000 a day, billing for risk in an environment they were often accused of exacerbating. This sector profits from the perpetual state of post-conflict, a condition of managed instability where the goal of a functional, peaceful society is less profitable than the endless process of trying to build it. However, the most omnipresent, yet most abstracted, profiteers operate far from the sound of gunfire. They are the financial market manipulators and commodity kings. War is the ultimate market volatility event. For those with the stomach and the insider positioning, this volatility is a casino. Hedge funds engage in war plays, loading up on defense, cybersecurity, and energy stocks as tensions rise. Commodity traders with prescient bets on oil, gas, wheat, and aluminum can make billions from the supply shocks that follow invasion. There are even darker, illegal corners. The insider trading based on classified intelligence about imminent military action. Beyond speculation, the control of physical resources becomes a font of staggering wealth. The Russian invasion of Ukraine sent global energy and food prices soaring, while European publics shivered under cost-of-living crises. The quarterly profits of major fossil fuel companies like ExxonMobil, Shell, and Saudi Aramco shattered records, measured in tens of billions of dollars. They profited not from producing more, but from the war-driven scarcity they could monetize. The owners, shareholders, and sovereign wealth funds behind these companies saw their wealth balloon as a direct result of the conflict's disruption. So, after this first mapping, who are the initial beneficiaries? The defense shareholder whose portfolio thrives on fear, the resource warlord who turns chaos into mineral dominion, the reconstruction tycoon who bills for the cleanup of destruction, the commodity speculator who trades the world's hunger and cold for personal gain. Their wealth is interconnected, forming a powerful ecosystem that has a vested interest in cyclical, managed instability rather than enduring peace. But this is only half the picture. The most insidious forms of war wealth are even more embedded in our daily lives, hiding in our technology, our data, and our very attention. Building fortunes on the intangible wreckage of a crumbling order. As we navigate this digital landscape, connect with me. Where are you located, and what time is it where you are? Share it in the comments. If you're seeing how war's reach extends into your phone and your mind, hit like, share this to expose the networks, and subscribe. The front lines are now everywhere. Our first stop in this shadow economy is the data battlefield. Modern war runs on information, and that information has been privatized. A handful of technology firms have become indispensable, not as weapon makers, but as infrastructure overlords. Elon Musk's Starlink provided the satellite internet backbone for Ukraine's defense, a move with profound humanitarian and strategic impact, but also one that demonstrated a terrifying new reality. A private citizen can grant or deny a nation's access to the global internet in a war zone. Similarly, companies like Palantir sell data integration platforms that fuse intelligence, targeting, and logistics. Their software essentially operates as a command-control system. The profit here is twofold: massive, non-competitive government contracts, and something far more valuable, sovereign-grade influence. These companies don't just profit from the war. They become arbiters of its conduct, wielding power that rivals that of allied generals. Their wealth is measured in both dollars and unprecedented political capital, simultaneously. The attention mercenaries are cashing in. The 24/7 news cycle and the algorithmic engines of social media. Platforms are perfectly tuned to feast on conflict. War is the ultimate engagement driver. It triggers outrage, fear, tribal loyalty, and an insatiable need for updates. This creates a vicious profit loop. Platforms like YouTube via ad revenue, Telegram via boosted subscription channels, and Twitter see user engagement and screen time skyrocket during crises. Content grifters emerge, building massive followings by peddling sensationalist, often unverified or extremist commentary. They monetize panic through YouTube's partner program, paid subscriptions, and donations from polarized audiences, state-line troll farms, and bot networks. Both state-run and private contractors are hired to weaponize this attention, flooding zones with propaganda to demoralize enemies and rally supporters, all while generating revenue for the accounts that host them. In this economy, truth is the first casualty, but clicks are the universal currency. A teenager creating AI-generated leaks or a provocateur spinning conspiracy theories can earn a substantial income from the conflict, while the platforms take their cut. Our horror and our need to bear witness are systematically packaged, amplified, and sold back to us, turning collective trauma into a revenue stream for the attention industrial complex. Beyond the flash of the active conflict lies the coldest, most calculated form of war wealth: vulture finance and phoenix capital. These are the players who look past the battle to the aftermath. They are the hedge funds, private equity firms, and legal consortiums that specialize in disaster arbitrage. Their strategy is to quietly acquire distressed asset sovereign debt of a shattered nation at 90% off, mineral rights from a collapsing regime, or devastated farmland with a single bet that someone will eventually have to rebuild. They are not investing in a company. They are investing in the certainty of reconstruction. When the guns fall silent, these Phoenix funds position themselves as the indispensable creditors and landlords of the new order. They lobby for reconstruction contracts, enforce debt repayment from ravaged governments, and secure ownership of the very infrastructure being rebuilt. Their profit is the longest of long games. I bet that human resilience and the international community's guilt will pour trillions into resurrecting what was destroyed, and they intend to own the foundation. Finally, we must confront the most pervasive profiteer of all, the systemic cycle itself. War wealth is not a bug in our global system. For key sectors, it is a feature. The defense industry, elements of the energy sector, and much of the political class in many nations are structurally dependent on a state of perpetual, managed threat. This is what President Dwight D. Eisenhower, in his 1961 farewell address, warned of as the unwarranted influence of the military-industrial congressional complex. It is a self-reinforcing ecosystem. Corporations need contracts to sustain their immense industrial base and satisfy shareholders. Politicians need those high-paying manufacturing jobs in their districts, and the campaign donations from industry PACs. Retired senior military officers seamlessly transition to lucrative board positions or lobbying roles, ensuring policy continuity. Media and think tanks, often funded by the same interests, help sustain a public discourse centered on existential threats that require constant investment. This complex does not necessarily start wars, but it creates a massive institutional inertia that makes de-escalation, disarmament, and diplomatic solutions economically and politically painful. It financially rewards the continuation of a mindset where national security is eternally linked to escalating military expenditure. So, what is the final tally of this shadow economy? The beneficiaries now include the tech overlord, selling the nervous system of war; the attention broker, monetizing our fear and outrage; The vulture capitalist. Buying the future at a fire sale. The systemic bureaucracy, whose very existence is funded by the premise of endless threat. The conclusion is as unsettling as it is inescapable. Wars make people rich because we have built a global economic system with myriad pressure points that activate during conflict, channeling vast flows of capital, public and private, toward a constellation of entities built to harvest chaos. From the soldier on the front line to the citizen scrolling in horror, we are the sources of that capital. Our taxes, our data, our attention, and our compromised future. This brings us to you, the final link. Your awareness is the one commodity this system cannot automatically extract and monetize. It must be willingly surrendered. Now that you see the map from the factory floor to the crypto wallet to the hedge fund betting on ruin, you are no longer a passive subject of this economy. Share this knowledge. Demand transparency in defense spending and political lobbying. Critically analyze the media you consume. Understand that a call for peace is not naive. It is a direct challenge to the most powerful profit engines on earth. The wealth of war depends on our collective distraction and despair. Choose to be informed. Choose to be focused. Choose to disrupt the cycle. Like, share, subscribe, and become a conscious dissenting force in the economy of conflict.